Another thing that might interest you is the box model. And here's a picture of the box model. And this is very important because you might have noticed over here that when I drew this border around it, the text went right up against that border. I had to set the thickness of the border, and the box itself, the border, goes right up pretty close to the edge of the whole page. And so you might like that, you might not, you might want to change things, and this has to do with the margin, the border, and the padding. So the margin is the area outside of your box, in this case our div. So we've got this nice big box, and it happens to have a border, but it didn't necessarily have to have a border to make it look like a box. But how much space is going to be around that is the margin. The border is obviously the border, this black line, and we had set it to be a certain number of pixels thick, and we can make it thicker or thinner as we like. And then the padding is the space between the content and the border. So right now our content goes right up to the edge, so we have no padding at all. And if we wanted to have a little bit of space inside of there, then we'd want to add padding. So let's play with the margin and the padding. We've already played with the border by adjusting the size of different borders. So we will play with that stuff. So let's go to our div again, and let's say that we want to make the margin, we'll make it 25 pixels. So all the way around this to the edge of the page and to the next thing should be 25 pixels. So I'm going to save this, jump back to the browser, and refresh, and there you see it kind of moved it in and made some space around it. So that's pretty good. Then I might want to adjust the padding. So I'll say padding, colon, and I'll make that, let's just make a little bit of padding, so maybe 5 pixels would be good. So I'll save that, and then I'll jump back here and refresh. And you can see we just added a little bit of padding, but that's much nicer. Everything's not going right up to the edge. And then we also, I mentioned the border, so I might as well, I've already got a border width here, so I might as well change that. I can make that, say, 20 pixels. So I'll save it, and I'll go back to the browser and refresh, and my border did not seem to get bigger because I've got an equal sign there. That's my problem. Never noticed that before, so save that. And now when I refresh there, now I've got a nice thick border. So just be sure if you were looking at the previous videos, if I made that mistake of equals something, then that was wrong, and that's why my border size didn't change. So now I've got a thick border. I've got a little bit of a margin around it so it doesn't go right up to the edge of other things. I've got some padding so that the stuff inside doesn't go right up to the edge of the border, and we're looking very good. And so that is the box model. And there you can see it again. There's content inside of some padding, which by default I believe is 0, so there might be no space between the content and the border unless you add some space. Then there's the border, which is of some thickness, possibly 0 if you don't have any border. And then there's a margin, which is the space between this thing that you're doing and all the other things, which could be the edge of the page, or it could be the next piece of content above it, below it, to its right, or to its left.